Hello and welcome. This is Mouse Gunner, and we're back with some more Automation the Car Company Tycoon game, continuing on with the campaign roleplay of the Edison Car Company in 1986. And the last video, I wrapped up a model called the Satellite, which was an economical sports car for our lineup. In this video, we'll be focusing on the Comet, which is our true sports car. And to achieve that, we're first going to start off with an engine build, and we'll do the car build in our next video. And what we'll be doing is just updating the already existing CV6 engine from 1981 into the 1986 year period. But to do that, we have to go ahead and select a new engine, because every time you start with a new year period, you kind of have to start from scratch. But I wrote some notes down that we can follow. So we've got an aluminum block and aluminum head. And the bore and stroke that we're looking for, at least in the old engine, was 92.2. And I'm not going to really deviate from the old engine because we don't want to have to come up with new tooling and everything. So 92.2 and 89.9 is our stroke. All right, we're almost there. There we go. Now, this is a dual overhead cam engine with 4 valves per cylinder. Now, I had a comment where somebody, questioned having a dual overhead cam V6 engine in the 1981 year period. And yes, that might have been uncommon for a V6 in 1981 for an American car company, but you have to also understand that the technology was there. So it's not like it wasn't something that was possible. First off, dual overhead cam engines have been around since the 20s. 4 valve per cylinder engines have been around since the 70s. And again, they would have been the more high performance engines, but even, still you would have had inline 4s with 4 valves per cylinders, again, usually as an option engine or for more of a sporty purpose, but still, those existed. So, you put the two together, dual overhead cam, 4 valve per cylinder, V6. And I think it's appropriate in this particular build. As I said, first off, the technology existed, so it's not like it's something we couldn't have used. But also, we need to get every bit of power out of this engine we can. We're trying to compete with V8s because V8s won't really fit in the body that I'm trying to use. We have to use what engines will fit, which is a V6, and we have to try and compete the best we can with the V8s that are out there. So dual overhead cam, 4 valve per cylinder. Okay, as far as everything goes, I believe it was forged steel, I-beam steel, and forged for crank, conrods, and piston. Bearing capacity was the same as the family capacity. Compression came in at 8.5. So let's bring that down. I have a feeling we'll be able to increase that, and we'll see why in a second. Cam profile was set at 45. And styling, I don't know if we had very many styling choices in this particular layout. We don't, but I think I went with red. So we'll go with the same route this time. This is a naturally aspirated engine. I thought about making a turbocharged version, but considering how this engine barely fits in the body I'm trying to use, I kind of talked myself out of it. And, there's other downsides to a turbocharged engine anyway, so let's move along from there. We're going to go carburetor, as we're still only using mechanical fuel injection. And I don't want to go with fuel injection just yet until we got the electronic version. So I'm going to go with the 4-barrel carb, as that was what was in the engine before. And I don't believe it was a twin carb. I actually don't remember. And I didn't write that in my notes, so I apologize if that is the case. Now, there was regular fuel. We're going to be jumping up to premium fuel. And the fuel mixture in our original car was 14.9, but we might be able to play with that as well. And our ignition timing came in at 58. Now, RPM was at 6,400. And moving along, we've got tubular headers, dual exhausts, and they were at 1.5 inches. We have a 3-way cat and 2 straight-through mufflers. So that's pretty much the way that this car was set up. Honestly, I don't remember the fuel system. I wrote down that it was a 4-barrel carb, but I don't remember if it was a dual carb, and I don't remember what the intake was. So we're just going to have to play with the engine from there. But let's go ahead and get our initial numbers. All right, there we have it. So we're at 209 horsepower and 208 foot-pounds of torque. Okay, let's see how we can improve this engine. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of fuel octane to play with, I would imagine, because we're at 86.1, and our limit is at 90.3, if I remember correctly. So we have a lot of fuel octane to work with. So straight away, I think we can go ahead and increase that compression. So let's go ahead and do that. I think I'm going to put it up to at least 9. And may even go beyond that. We might even be able to get up to as high as 9.5, I would imagine. We are starting to have a little bit of color change here due to valve float. So we probably don't want the thing to rev too much higher. But at 6,100 RPM, we may have to change where our red line comes in because, that's cutting it off only 300 after our peak power. Where are we? We're at 9.5, and we still have a lot of room to go. Might even go up to 9.6 and play with it from there, because I don't know how much more ignition timing we'll be able to get out of this thing. Yeah, you're already kind of hitting a peak here. We may play with the cam profile a little bit, but that's going to end up pushing out our RPM, and also giving us, that's kind of an interesting thing to kind of think about, is how we're going to play with this engine to give us the best performance. So let's see what happens if we increase this a couple points, and then we match that with ignition timing. Are we going to get the same results we had before, where it starts hurting us rather than helping us? No, it doesn't look like it. Usually when you match the two, ignition timing and cam profile, you can usually kind of get over that point where you're starting to, lose efficiency. So at that point, we're knocking in any case. So I think this is pretty much as much power as we're going to get out of this thing as it's set up now. I'm going to have to double check on the other engine, though, what kind of intake we used and what kind of carb configuration we used, because that doesn't seem quite right to me. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to increase the RPM limit here a little bit. And looks like we are still moving, but we're starting to lose some parts reliability quite a bit here. And it continues to move. And we finally, I guess, reached our peak at 6,800 RPM. The compromise, though, the end result of that is a lot of parts reliability drop-off. So I'm thinking we're going to end up going, because the best we could get was 156.6. And we might go with this right here. So we're getting 156. We lost 0.6 in our performance index, but I think we're benefiting from the parts reliability, or the engine reliability here. Okay, so I'm thinking, unless we change something else, this engine is probably looking done, but I really want to double check our fuel system. So I'm going to go ahead and save this up. And CV6, and we're going to say 86, so we know the difference. And the engine variant is, we're just going to call it the Comet variant. Oh. I thought I clicked in here. I must have clicked the other part. There we go. And Comet. All right. Let's go ahead and save this on up and check those numbers, the things that I forgot to write notes about. So we're looking at the 3.6 liter variant. Maybe we'll rename the other variant the same thing, and we'll revise. Looks like we're getting better power numbers. I just want to look at what we did in the past. So we would have had a single carb but a performance intake, which I thought would have been the case. Let's go ahead and implement that. Let's find our new engine, which is the CV686. With the Comet variant. I really hate every time you click things that it jumps you around. They really need to fix that, because that's kind of a nuisance. Any case, let's go ahead and go to the fuel and go performance intake. And that does improve things quite a bit there. Couple horsepower, a few pounds of torque, foot-pounds of torque. And our economy is a little bit better as a result. We could even upgrade this thing. Let's see. I want to do the 3.6 variant and save that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a clone here, And I want to do a twin carb setup. So we have kind of a higher performance version. We're not having a turbocharged version, but we can have a high output version. So we'll do a twin carb, which is going to allow us, interestingly enough, no fuel octane. I would have thought it would have been better there. There isn't that much of an improvement here. I thought we would have had more fuel octane to play with, but that seems to not be the result. There's one other thing that I kind of missed, and that is the fuel mixture. So as a result, I'm going to end up deleting this version. I wanted to see what would happen if we did that twin carb, and it really didn't improve things the way that I thought. I mean, and yeah, it's giving us more power, but it's not enough of a difference for me to feel like that we need to have two different engine variants. Let's play with the fuel mixture here. So we do that. Okay, yeah, I don't know if I like having the RPM limit go out like that. And we can see how our performance index is affected by that. We did that. Yeah. Okay, we'll keep things as they are. All right, so this is pretty much, I think, done engine. I'm still kind of thinking about that more high performance version, but I'm thinking like at best we probably gain maybe 10 horsepower if I played with some things. Let's make sure our exhaust diameter is where it needs to be. It wasn't. Okay, that's good to know. So we're getting quite a bit more horsepower here. Kind of, it's almost like a swap. You get the horsepower in exchange for the torque, which it kind of is what I'm looking for in a little bit. So that's good. Let's go back here. Let's see what our twin carb setup gives us now. Ooh, that's quite a bit of improvement. The end result, though, is it's a lot more expensive. We lose some on reliability. We also lose... I'm almost thinking about going this route. And upgrading the engine just wholesale. Let's see. We do that with our RPM limit. It brings us back some of our... Oh, as a matter of fact, that's actually better performance index as well. So, okay, I think I like this, better all around. It is quite a bit different than our previous version of this engine, but it's producing numbers that are going to be a little bit more competitive with V8s, which is what I'm going for. So, I think I'm pretty happy with the end result. I don't think we're going to be able to get any more power out of this thing unless we really mess with the cam profile here, which we may do as long as it doesn't affect... Yeah, there we go. So just that 1 point, and maybe we can get another point of ignition timing out of it. No, knocking. Okay, so what was the difference there? It seems like quite a bit. Yeah, a few horsepower there and a couple foot-pounds of... or at least 1 foot-pound of torque. All right, so I think that's going to be it. A little bit of, kind of having to play with things and determine what we wanted to do. So let's look at the engine and its finished configuration. And don't think there's anything else I'd want to change. I mean, we might switch to billet steel, and the main reason I do that is to reduce the weight even more than it already is. It also increases smoothness. We might end up going that route. I don't mind as much that the production units are going up and up and up, because we're trying to kind of make that separation from our, economical, sports car and the, or economy-based sports car and the satellite and the more expensive Comet now. We're trying to get a little bit of separation. So I think that might be what we want to do. All right. So I think that is everything. So let's go ahead and close out. And let's get a comparison here. So first things first, let's sort by year. So this is the old V6 and our current V6. So we gain a lot of power. We're looking at almost 30 horsepower increase, and roughly around 17 foot-pounds of torque. Our emissions are reduced. Our responsiveness is quite a bit higher, and that's due to the twin carb setup. Loudness is about the same. Smoothness is a little bit better, a few points better. Production units go up, though, and that makes sense. We did a couple things differently. Our cost also goes up, which, again, we did things differently. Reliability, though, ends up being about the same. Although these numbers are, kind of roughly rounded. It's kind of weird. When you're in the engine builder, the horsepower numbers are rounded, but then you get the exact numbers when you come out here. And then when you come out here, reliability numbers are roughly rounded. I don't know. It's kind of weird sometimes. As far as economy, though, we improved. That makes sense as well. First off, advancement in years, but also we used a twin carb setup. So, again, that makes sense. We're using higher quality fuel. So, again, that makes sense. As a matter of fact, the difference is not that much, but we did increase power quite a lot. Now, weight has increased, and that's due to the dual carb setup, which is kind of the reason why I switched to the billet steel crank, is to kind of reduce the weight a little bit, because we haven't increased that weight a little tiny bit, but it's about 7 pounds, roughly speaking. Let's look at some of our other engines. So obviously this is going to be better than our other V6 engine that we have. I mean, by a good margin. I mean, 235 horsepower versus at best 138 horsepower. But let's look at our HP 300 engine. It's getting a little bit venerable now, but as we can see, our V6 is finally beating all of our V8s. Now, these V8s aren't necessarily set up to be performance engines. For instance, the 5.7 liter V8 that we have in our pickup truck, it's meant to have high torque numbers. The Comet engine is meant to be quieter, smoother, that kind of stuff. So we can kind of see that difference. So you see the V8 here is a little bit more smooth and much quieter and things like that. And that's what the Comet engine is built for. And it's not really meant for that really high-end power. So it's kind of a different design philosophy, obviously. In any case, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. This is Mouse Gunner, signing out.